And welcome to the show, Al-Islam and Community Issues. My name is Naeem Sharif, and today we have some fantastic, historical, and sometimes hilarious guests today. To my left, we have the magnificent, the wonderful Vanetta Mosen. And to my far left, we have how shall I introduce this brother? The distinguished world travel local community organizer, Mr. Elmer Dixon. Thank you all very much for coming on this show. We'd like to have a little humor here. We recently went on a trip to Oakland, California for the 50th anniversary of the Black Panther Party free breakfast program. It was an amazing trip, an outstanding trip. I'm glad I went. I learned a lot. I saw people that I knew, saw some people I didn't. We had so many wonderful experiences. So I'd just like to get into the show because we got a lot of ground to cover. Vanetta, so of course we're talking about the free breakfast program and everything, but I would like an opportunity to ask you why you joined the Black Panther Party.
Hey.
Be honest.
Be honest and let us hear your deep, resounding voice.
Oh.
You don't have to tell everything. You don't have to tell everything, but tell something.
She don't have that deep.
I joined the Black Panther Party because I was impressed with the breakfast program.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I started working in my neighborhood of Holly Park and working with the breakfast programs with a number of mothers and grandmothers who helped and older brothers and sisters that helped with the breakfast programs in Holly Park mostly. And then about half a year later or more, I got more interested in what the Black Panther Party was doing. Because starting off with the breakfast program, doing something that they didn't have to do, wasn't told to do, wasn't even financed for, but taking care of children in our neighborhood and in an impoverished community. I had to see what else was going on. And then I found out that they were particularly interested in changing our future, helping us become empowered to determine our own destiny. So I joined the Black Panther Party because I wanted to work with them.
Okay, very good. Mr. Dixon, your reasons for joining the Black Panther Party?
You know, it's difficult to sum up the joining the party in a single event or even a single period, because I, as many other comrades of mine in the Black Panther Party, were being primed to be Panthers from a very early age, growing up in the era of the civil rights movement. And seeing firsthand assassinations, the Bloody Sundays, the beatings of the demonstrators, marching with Dr. King when he came here to Seattle, the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church, the insurrection in Watts, and then Detroit, the assassination of Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, John Kennedy, and then Martin Luther King. All of those were build-ups to politicizing and the awakening of young black people across this country. And so it was a progression of all of those things that really culminated in, when Stokely Carmichael came to Seattle in 1967. And people flocked to Garfield High School to hear him. There were hundreds of people there, so hundreds of people were politicized overnight from his one speech, I became a member of SNCC. Then with several of my comrades, we weren't comrades yet. I think you were among that. No, you weren't among that group. We started the first high school black student union at Garfield High School in the fall of 1967. It was the first high school. It was the first black student union on the west coast of the United States. That's how significant that was. That was in the fall of '67. Later that school year, as I was a senior that year, we had been asked by students at Franklin to support them in becoming their own black student union, which they were being denied, as we had been denied at Garfield before we won our freedom, so to speak. And it was at that Franklin sit-in where we took over the school. A couple of days later, I was arrested at Garfield High School along with my brother Aaron, who was at the UW, and Larry Gossett, Carl Miller. There was several young people that were being taken off the streets, literally, because within the hour of me being arrested and the others being arrested, Martin Luther King was assassinated. And so it was like it was a buildup. And by the end of that week, we had been scheduled, once we had gotten out of jail, we had been scheduled to drive to San Francisco to attend the West Coast Conference of Black Student Unions. And Aaron and I had had obtained some Panther papers, and we were curious about who this group was in the Bay Area called the Black Panther Party. And to our surprise, that the first night of the conference there, the West Coast BSU conference at San Francisco State, the keynote speaker was Bobby Seale. And Bobby was there with a couple of other Panthers, Captain Crutch, and another Panther member who had been in what was supposedly a shootout with the police days earlier, in which the first member of the Black Panther Party, little Bobby Hutton, had been murdered, had been shot to death, shot 30 times by police bullets. And Bobby gave a very fiery speech. It was at that point, after the speech was done, that a group of us from Seattle made a beeline to Chairman Bobby and said we wanted to become members of the Black Panther Party. And we didn't know what that meant at that point. But it was the next day, because he told us to come to little Bobby's funeral over in Oakland, which was the next morning. And I recall as we drove across the Bay Bridge down into West Oakland, headed to St. Augustine's Church, seeing hundreds of black people in the street, many of them lined up in military formation, and thinking to myself, this looks like a black army. And it began to materialize in terms of what this thing was, this Black Panther Party, and what this movement was about. But it wasn't until we had gotten in the church, and lining the walls inside the church were brothers and sisters in their leather jackets and their shotguns and their bandoliers across their chests, lining the insides of the church, and the berets. And when we went and sat for the service, I remember staring at little Bobby's coffin, which was draped in a Panther flag. And when the service was done and the coffin was opened, and we were given the opportunity, the community was given the opportunity to file by his coffin, and Mrs. Hutton wanted his coffin to be opened because she wasn't afraid of the fact that he had been hit by 30-some bullets, but she wanted to see the community to see what the police had done to her son. And we were filing by the coffin. I remember looking in at little Bobby in his dressed in his uniform, his leather jacket, his beret, his Free Huey buttons, and looking down at him. And he was 17 years old, and I was 17 years old. And it was at that point that it registered that we were in this till the death. And it was the culmination of all of that said, and when Malcolm said, by any means necessary, that's what the Black Panther Party embodied, by any means necessary. And that's what brought me to the point where I knew I was going to be a Panther for life.
I see. Very good. Let's go into the trip that we made a couple weeks ago to Oakland for the 50th anniversary of the Black Panther Party Free Breakfast Program. And I know as both of you are aware that it was a survival programs, and we can get into that. But let's just show a few pictures and just make some comments on that, and we'll kind of go from there.
Okay.
So one of the things that we saw there, and the picture should come up momentarily, hopefully, was at the park, at this park. And it was named after, the Panthers named it after Bobby Hutton Park, named it Bobby Hutton Park, and all the events were there. So it looked like we might have a technical glitch. But while we're waiting for those pictures to come up, just to kind of describe the setting there at the park for this free breakfast anniversary. Vanetta, you have a few words to say about that?
I was just taken back.
Oh, this is before that. Oh, so this is the get-together. So this is the get-together, and that's Vanetta in the middle. So this was a get-together on a Friday night, just some of the Panthers. And so Vanetta, if you know some of the people, or Elmer, I know you know some of the people, you just want to kind of describe some of the people that were there.
Those are our comrades from around the country. My brother Aaron is to the far left, my right. Steve McCutcheon, Asali there right in front of me, Vanetta next to me. Asali was a member of the Seattle Black Panther Party. Asali Dixon, spelled D-I-C-K-S-O-N, not D-I-X-O-N. Billy X's wife is to our right, and there's a brother from Winston-Salem back there. Naeem, you're back there. Looks like there's a brother from Philly back there. Who's that brother? I know him all the way to the left, Vanetta. His name won't pop out of my
They call
head.
him Bunchy.
That is Bunchy. That's
yeah.
Bunchy.
That's Bunchy, yeah, with the shade.
Now Bunchy is not the Bunchy Carter,
yeah.
but he's another Bunchy that was in the party.
Okay.
So, it's just comrades from around the country.
Okay.
Vanetta, do you recognize a couple of those sisters up there in the front? I recognize them. I can't pull their names out of my head.
Some of Asali's friends.
Yeah. Well, they were party members.
Okay.
Yeah, they were all. Yeah, yeah, those are all party members in the photo.
That's right.
Okay. And
Except for Billy X's wife, of course.
Gotcha. Well, let's go to
and
the
the other
next.
young woman.
And if you can't see them all there, okay, let's go to this picture here.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a picture, this is in Oakland, and it was about a block from where we were staying, which was great. So Emma, if you want to talk about this mural here.
Well, it's important to say that this is West Oakland, because that's where the party headquarters was initially. Our first headquarters was on Shattuck, on the boundary of Oakland and Berkeley. And then in the background there, you see of that painting next to, behind Huey, behind where Naeem is standing, is Central Headquarters when it moved to Peralta Street, which was right down the block from where this mural is being painted. So West Oakland was a very significant location in terms of Black Panther history, because that's where the party began, and that's where two of our central headquarters were before we moved to East 14th Street over in East Oakland.
Okay. And we're going to show a picture of the office in a moment. So let's go to the next picture there. Okay, so this is two brothers, and I forget their names, but these are two brothers who are carrying on the legacy of the Black Panther Party. They do a lot of community organizing and a lot of work. And every time we were at an event there, we saw these two brothers working.
Yeah, these are young brothers that come out of the community to continue the legacy of the Black Panther Party.
And I think that's what it's all about, because if they can pass on this legacy, that's what we want. The good things out of the Panther Party, that's what we want to see. Let's go to the next slide. And this is on that mural. This is part of the mural, and that's the 10-point program that they had it there. And it's interesting that where this was taken before, I guess, the community had been gentrified, so they had something else as a mural, and the community asked them to put something that reflected the history of the community.
That's actually point number one of the 10-point program. We want freedom. We want power to determine the destiny of our black community. That was really what epitomized the struggle of the Black Panther Party, is to get community control back and control the destiny of our community.
All right, let's go to the next picture. Okay, so this is at the free breakfast program, and then to the left there is Satur, Ned, and then myself, and then Frederica Newton, Huey P. Newton's wife, and then, of course, Elmer Dixon there. Anything you want to say about that particular picture?
Well, that's at Defirmary Park, and Defirmary is a historic park in West Oakland in the black community. After the murder of little Bobby, the party renamed it Bobby Hutton Park. So the community knows it as both names, Defirmary and also as Bobby Hutton Park. A lot of the Panther events, the huge grocery bag giveaways, we had an international youth festival there. A lot of the community events were all at this park, at Bobby Hutton Park. And Saturu is a longtime member of the Black Panther Party, who actually was one of the singers, one of the performers of the Black Panther Party singing group known as the Lumpen. And so he has a long history in the party. And then, of course, Frederica was Huey's wife in the latter years of his life while still in the party, and was his wife at the time of his death.
Okay, all right. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so this was a picture of a picture. This was at the park there. They had a display of some of the Black Panther Party history. You want to talk a little bit about this?
Well, there's little Bobby there front and center in the bottom photo. He was the first member to join the Black Panther Party, and the first to die, officially to die. I've heard that there was another party member who may have died before him, but he was gunned down by police in West Oakland during the swing up of the Free Huey movement. Right next to him, of course, is Chairman Bobby, and that's when they marched on the Capitol in Sacramento, which drew international attention to the Black Panther Party and what our organization was all about. Above that photo, just to the left, is a photo of the Seattle chapter members on the state capitol in Olympia. Naeem is in that picture as well. He was with us that day in Olympia in 1969. The one of Sacramento was in '67. And then there's just various pictures of Panthers around that photo. George Murray was the Minister of Information who was speaking up at the top right. That's also in West Oakland. And you can see there in that background of that picture in the far, what I'm speaking of in the corner, is it says Hutton Memorial Park.
I see that, yes.
And that's when we had first named the park after little Bobby.
Okay, all right, let's go to the next one.
That's the central headquarters on Peralta. It was there for, it was Panther central headquarters for a short time. In fact, that's where I met Elaine Brown in 1970 in that very building. But it's, it's interesting, there are no historical landmarks on that building. I don't know who owns it now. Of course, you can see that it's well taken care of, but there should be a plaque that said one of the headquarters of the Black Panther Party there.
Vanetta, were you around in Oakland and when this particular one? Okay,
No.
just want to check. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one.
It looks like the one on Shattuck, though.
No, the one on Shattuck was a storefront.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So then this is another picture of the same building with Elmer there in front of it. And yeah, we just wanted, if we don't tell this history, nobody's going to tell it or
That's right.
preserve it.
It's a
Yeah.
historical building.
Historical building. Like I said, it should have a plaque or something by it. All right, let's move on to the next one. And this is at the 50th anniversary of the free breakfast program there at the park there. And this was the People's Kitchen Collective who was doing the free breakfast. So I think this is what we want the legacy to be about. The things that the Black Panther Party did, we want people to know about it and to continue the legacy how they say fit to do it. So take something from the 10-point program, take something from the survival programs, and go with it the way you want to do with it. So this was the people there getting ready to serve.
Yeah, the People's Kitchen Collective, they do this breakfast program on a regular basis. And so they just themed it around our 50th anniversary this year, but they had already taken lessons from the Black Panther Party and decided to go out on their own to serve a hot breakfast to the community.
Okay, let's go to the next slide, next picture. So there's the park. There's a good picture. That picture came better, yeah, better than we thought it did, yeah. So this is, and so like I say, the community also knows it as Bobby Hutton Memorial Park. Okay, very good. So let's go to the next one. So this is where all the free breakfast things was happening. So then this is a picture of people in line getting ready for free breakfast, and there's Vanetta with her coffee.
ready to get fed.
Fed.
Her and Alma.
And if you need to turn, you can really see a big picture of this right behind you, Vanetta, or you can look straight ahead. But yeah, they were there, and Alma's in her hat there, getting lined up. So let's go to the next slide. Vanetta was ready to work too. Let's go to another one, another slide.
We've seen that one.
Yeah, we've seen that one, so let's just go. So this was the menu. Man, the food was so good. So you can see there, the 50th anniversary, 1969 to 2019, Black Panther Party for Self-Defense Free Breakfast Program. So the menu, they had collard greens with no meat in it. It was vegetarian and gluten-free, of course. Stone ground grits, they were good. The tofu.
It was a scramble. It was like tofu eggs or some kind of a tofu mix.
Right.
Hoda soy tofu scramble, whatever that is. But it was a very good dish.
Good.
Yeah.
It was a curry flavored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
And then they had scrambled eggs for people with that. Then they had Sweetheart sweet potato biscuits, and they had farm peach butter. That's what that was. Oh, that was good. Then they had tea at the top. So the menu was good. It was filling. It was healthy. It was well done. It was hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I want to point out about that menu and the Seattle Black Panther Party breakfast program, we were the first chapter formed outside of the state of California. And when the first children's free breakfast program began here in Oakland, or there in Oakland, our free breakfast program began within a week or two later. At our very first site, which was the Madrona Presbyterian Church. So we were on the cusp of all of those things that were happening at central headquarters. They were happening in Seattle as well. But that menu reflects young people's awareness of eating healthy, where there's no meat on the menu, and most of those items, you can see the GF there, they're gluten-free. And we were kind of like in the forefront of that in our breakfast program here in Seattle, because we pulled pork out of the kids' menu very early and went to a turkey sausage before it was popular to do so. This was back in the 70s, and that actually led to. Because of other events, us eventually breaking away from central headquarters because we took that position. But anyway, that's another story
That's
for another
story.
day.
Yeah, how can you be against the pig and then eat the pig? I mean, you know, that's another story.
That's another story.
So we have
for
about
another
3
day.
minutes. Let's go to the next slide. And there is Elmer serving the people with a free breakfast program. And there's you can see the food there. And the People's Kitchen Collective, they fed about 700 people, because at one time the count was 650. So then I figured about another hour later they had served another 50, so about 700 people. And it seemed like they just kept it going and kept it going. You know how there's a long break sometimes when you have these things? But the food kept going. The people, they knew what they were doing. The food was hot and it was nutritious. And it was good to see Seattle represented there. So I know Vanetta was there somewhere. And I was
Eating.
just eating, and I had a little plate. I should have gotten more. Oh, we did have this picture. I didn't know we had that picture.
Yeah, that's Don Cox was the first field marshal of the Black Panther Party, and this is his daughter. It's important for Seattle and for me in that I was when we first formed, our positions were deputy this and deputy that. I was the deputy field marshal of the Washington State chapter of the Black Panther Party, which later became the field lieutenant. But that was, I reported directly to DC and Chairman Bobby. And so this is DC's daughter, Kim.
Okay, yeah, we did have that. Okay, I think we have time for maybe one more picture and a comment. Okay, so who are these people?
Well, that's a Sally. Who's that with the Sally?
Kathy.
Oh, is that Kathy under them glasses? Yeah. And there's Carol Rucker back in the far left corner. Madeline Carol Rucker was the one of the early members of the Black Panther Party, and she is actually was the poster child for the first children's free breakfast program. She served breakfast at Oakland and Central headquarters in that very first breakfast program.
And she did come up to Seattle at the University of Washington for a doctorate.
Oh, and there's Aaron in the background as well.
Oh yeah, there's Aaron. There's Billy.
With Frederica.
Yeah, Frederica. And then to the left of that, it's Billy
X, yep.
Jennings. Okay. Well, folks, we got a lot more history to share with the people. So there's going to be a part 2 of this program. And we got a lot of interesting photos, a lot of history coming up. So you can see us, of course, on cable TV in Seattle, Bremerton, and Olympia, and then on YouTube. So when you watch it, give yourself a little time to kind of see the history, because if we don't tell it, nobody else is going to tell it. We thank our audience for watching. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vanetta. Thank you, Elmer. Thank you, everybody. Peace.
Peace.